Thank you so much for having us here in the Clear Creek Barrel Room to taste this barrel pick that we're doing. Joseph O'Sullivan was the first distiller that we know of that joined the Whiskey Lodge Discord. And he sort of gave us a tour around this facility, and we kind of fell in love with McCarthy's as a brand. When we sort of kicked off the podcast, Single Malt Frontier, it wasn't long before we figured, hey, we should do a barrel pick. And if we're going to do a barrel pick, we need to do it as a McCarthy's barrel pick.
The distillers here at Clear Creek, we're used to being able to experience the changes of the whiskey over the aging life of that particular batch. But it's been a joy to be able to experience that through fresh eyes and through all of your tasting notes, as you've been essentially watching and safeguarding this barrel throughout its aging period to get it to this point where we're actually ready to pull from this barrel and get it into those McCarthy's bottles. So thank you for essentially reminding us about the magic that's in this room and the magic of what whiskey really is.
A lot of what's been going on in the lodge has been kind of behind closed doors, right? It's been in the admin channel. It's, you know, hey, I got this cool sample 3 years ago now at this point it was 3.5 years old at the time. That was just this really cool, unique thing, but it like wasn't quite ready yet. And like Joe got my tasting notes and he's like, yeah, we kind of agree it's not quite ready. And I was like, you know, I only have 2 ounces. I can't like send it around to everybody and convince you that it's cool, but like, just trust me, it's going to be cool when it's grown up a little bit.
Yep, it's going to be a really unique expression in that this is going to be probably the first time for just about everybody to try McCarthy's with no influence of Oregon oak. So it's spent in its entire 6 years in this ex-Casa Magdalena Rum Cask. So when we're talking about McCarthy's, right, we're all really familiar with the peat, with that kind of briny mineral character, that little bit of bitterness, but that sweet smokiness that comes through it as well. What's interesting is how those flavors play with this rum. So it's actually a Guatemalan rum, and the sugarcane itself is grown in a volcanic valley in Guatemala. So there's this really rich mineral soil that cane is actually growing on. It's a single family that actually grows that cane and creates the high test molasses, which is essentially molasses that's never had any of the sugar removed. So in the sugar production making, you would usually pull some of those crystals out. This rum has been made with all of that caramelized sugar, but also all of that sugar that initially came from the sugar cane itself, which means that you're getting some of those really rich and deep earthy notes from the molasses, but you still maintain some of those green, grassy, and somewhat floral notes from it being that high test molasses that is a part of the rum that goes into this barrel. And so as the McCarthy's ages in this barrel over time, the interplay between the additional kind of bitter and earthy flavors against the peat, but also those green, grassy notes against some of the natural citrus like the lemon that comes out of a new make McCarthy's has been really fun to watch how it changes and also plays together in this barrel. So the fingerprint of McCarthy's is still there, but the joy of this is getting the opportunity to taste how that McCarthy's is played with those very similar and familiar flavors over its 6 years in this barrel.
And we also get to see it without the influence of the Oregon oak, which is a pretty rare thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we get to even see more of what McCarthy's is at its most naked level.
Which I think is really fun too when you talk about getting to know the brand itself, because McCarthy's is so well known for that Oregon oak. And so getting the opportunity to try McCarthy's without it means that you can get the contrast of what the Oregon oak does with the McCarthy's. And when you go back to it, you can really celebrate and understand better why we've made the choice of Oregon oak for all of the other Clear Creek Distillery expressions of McCarthy's.
Right, and we're a really geeky community. We love doing side-by-sides. So anytime we get a chance to taste something that's pretty much the same thing, but something a little bit different to it, that's something that we really love to do. It's just a super geeky thing that we absolutely lost our minds over.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's an opportunity for us to let you guys have that peek behind the curtain, which is fun for us.
I mean, I've tasted it here a couple of times, but most of the time I'm taking a sample home and doing detailed tasting notes by myself in a room and not really live sharing it with anybody. And to know that it's done now and that we finally get to drink the finished product together, you know, couldn't think of anything better. So cheers.
Cheers. And soon we'll be able to release it to the lodge and also to the world. So it's been an epic adventure.
I would definitely do it again.
Awesome.